If you were buying comic books in the 90s, they probably own these comic books. And if not, you may want to consider buying them right now. The 10 most trending comic books in the world. Number 10 on the list, Giant Size X-Men #1, the foil GameStop edition of the first appearance of the new X-Men team. $50 high average sales. I'm seeing a lot of sales in the $60 range. And the talk of the town is, did Marvel double dip here? Because you may think, hasn't this already happened before? I mean, it's Giant Size X-Men, and the answer is kind of. This is a facsimile through GameStop. You have to buy some things and you get it for free, but this is a facsimile with current ads in it. Take a look at this picture. There is another version that was released by a store, a good friend of ours, Nelson, over at Big Time Collectibles at a convention back in 2023. It was limited to 3,000. It looks near identical, but they are very different. On the inside of the exclusive is the original ads. Now, I want to kick this to the community. The Big Time Collectibles exclusive is still available by the store for cheaper than what the GameStop variant is currently going for on eBay. Which do you pick?
Giant Size X-Men has so many great first appearances, and most of them, you know, Nightcrawler, Storm, early appearance of Wolverine, but one we don't really think about is Colossus saves a baby, happens to be his sister. Well, number 9 on the list is actually Illyana Rasputin, who will eventually become Magic. She shows up as an adolescent. Still Colossus's sister, still a book that I think is very undervalued. $40 average sales, $175 for a CGC 9.8, and a 163% increase in copies sold this week. Back in December, there was blink and you'll miss it rumors about Anya Taylor-Joy going to be in the new Spider-Man movie. Who's she gonna play? We saw her play Magic in the New Mutants movie, and that role was okay, but the movie wasn't received very well. She could potentially be Black Cat. She could potentially be Gwen Stacy. There are a bunch of female characters that we could explore, but the fact that she played Magic before is definitely one of the catalysts behind this book moving. These rumors are fantastic, and I love the fact that so many more of these X rumors are seeming to come to fruition. We recently even heard from Alan Cumming, who did play Nightcrawler in the original movies, that he's reprising his role. He was in a fight scene and got to punch Pedro Pascal in the face. This is great and definitely showing that we'll see some good crossovers in the new Avengers vs. X-Men project.
I think number 8 on the list has some amazing potential. Stay tuned, because we're doing something in July for the Mystery Mail Call I got to tell you about, because in 7 years that we've been doing this comic book subscription service, we have never teamed up with a company to take it over. And this July, one per box, is a Planet Death #1 by Bad Idea Comics.
When Planet Death #0 came out, it was one of the most highly anticipated independent comic books ever. The numbers do not lie. 900,000 copies ordered. That is the highest independent comic book since we've seen back in 1992 when Wildcats was released by Image Comics. And you have to think that at least a little bit of this is in part to the fact that Derek Kolstad is the writer. You'd know him as the guy that wrote all the John Wick films.
You have impeccable art by Tomás Giorello in this sci-fi epic. And there are names being floated around that they have been able to collab with, like Joe Quesada, Assad Ribic, and Linnell Yu. We teamed up with Ryan Benjamin to release an ASM 300 McFarlane homage, and we will have alt covers of this, but it's guaranteed one per box. Open enrollment began at midnight last night. We sold out of last month's box in 14 days, and I only have a few hundred for open enrollment. You can join by going to comictom.com, and it was really cool. I got hit up by Bad Idea, and they said I just had to allow a couple small plugs on our show that wouldn't be intrusive, and they're gonna hook up our community with some crazy collectibles.
High potassium and always delicious.
Which brings us to number 8 on the list with Ghost Rider 1 from 1990. We got Danny Ketch, the second Ghost Rider, appearing for the first time in this comic book. Listen to these prices, Russ. $30 average sales. Normal. It's a tough book and high grade, by the way. Terrible paper quality, and the black cover is notorious for getting scuffs and color breaks on that spine. $103 for a recent CGC 9.8 seems criminally low for the Ghost Rider that most people my age grew up with.
As you mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is the type of thing that a lot of people probably bought right off the rack for cover price, and this is absolutely the Ghost Rider that my generation grew up with.
An increase of copies sold of 133%, week over week, after month of Johnny Blaze spec. getting Johnny Blaze as soon as Avengers Doomsday, Ghost Rider, possibly, but seemingly more updates about Midnight Suns, which also includes Danny Ketch. And if you can't afford Marvel Spotlight 5, which has been on the Hot 10 a lot recently, seeing $100 for a 9.8 for first Danny Ketch seems like a great opportunity. And I think people are jumping on it this week.
Speaking of Midnight Suns, number 7 on the list, we're talking about Ghost Rider number 28, which is the first appearance of the Midnight Suns, a 329% increase in copies sold this week. Lots of good Ghost Rider news, $25 average sales, and again, a criminally low $70 for CGC 9.8. Now, I know all the 90s kids went out and bought this book originally, and probably some of them still have copies of it. This Midnight Suns information is good news. The fact that we just found out that the Midnight Suns project, after being dormant for so long, is finally back in the works and moving in a forward direction. I expect this book to be back on the list again before the end of the year.
This is also the first appearance of Lilith, who is supposed to be portrayed by Mia Goth for the Blade movie, which is officially more in limbo than Midnight Suns, which is crazy. I love this next book on the list. It's underappreciated, undervalued, and perfect to grab right now. We have Daredevil 178 from 1982. $25 average sales and $100 for a CGC 9.8. We have the first meeting between Matt Murdock, Daredevil, and the Heroes for Hire, Luke Cage, Power Man, and the Iron Fist. Now, of course, we're talking about Daredevil Born Again Season 2 and the Netflix heroes all coming back together, right? Well, I want to also remind you about the character embargo, the list of characters that were just untouchable by producers in the MCU for quite some time. That list was revealed. It included Ghost Rider, which is why the last 2 books are on the list. And then we also had Beta Ray Bill, who we've been talking a lot about in the cosmic arena. And then the last on that list was Iron Fist, which leads us to believe that they haven't given up on Danny Rand, and I don't think they should. An increase of copies sold to 467% this last week. No official news if we're getting the Defenders joining the cast of Born Again Season 2, but it seems very likely, especially after this recent photo that Mike Coulter took of him and Charlie Cox at a convention, which is very similar to what, like, Kristen Ritter's been doing over the last few months leading up to the announcement, taking pictures, talking more about this role that she used to do, and then next thing you know, she's in New York and she's filming with Charlie Cox.
If you were one of the kids that bought Wildcats back in the day, you absolutely bought this next book, number 5 on the list, Adventures of Superman, number 500. This is the book where he comes back. There's the white bag version. There's the green version that's out of the bag. $3 average sales, which really is appropriate for a book that had a 3.4 million print run. $85 for CGC 9.8 seems like a lot, though. But we are seeing more and more people submit this book. And why? It's not because of John Henry Irons' first appearance of Steel and that wonderful Shaquille O'Neal movie. I loved the movie. I thought it was great. And really, we've been seeing him show up a lot in the DC universe lately. But we're talking about first appearance of Angora Lappin, who would become White Rabbit. And since we've been talking about White Rabbit before, there was that great Batman the Dark Knight cover, that David Finch cover. We're talking about her first appearance, and this book is absolutely spiking on more Peacemaker news. A 233% increase in copies sold this week as we inch closer and closer to the Peacemaker 2 release on August 21st. James Gunn said that this is the favorite thing that he has ever worked on, and those are some very, very strong words. He also said that there is a really, really, really big cameo in Peacemaker that will be tied into the Superman movie. If you haven't watched season 1, you need to. It is probably one of the best things I have ever seen related to Superman stuff. It's really cool.
Number 4 on the list is Vengeance of Bane, issue number 1. First appearance of Bane. That is actually going for pretty damn cheap. $100 average sales, $288 for a CGC 9.8 seems very appropriate. An increase of copies sold of 122% after the recent release of Absolute Batman number 9, where we actually see Batman go up against Absolute Bane for the first time, titled Abomination. And I won't spoil anything, but if you thought Bane was big, you ain't seen anything yet. Now, a vintage key even though it's modern, but it's still vintage a little bit. Spiking up because of a modern book is always a little fun, but it's typically temporary. Let's not forget about the 2024 rumors about a Deathstroke Bane-led movie in live action. Like, that was a while back. We haven't heard any news on that.
Nope.
Maybe it's the Secret Six. Maybe it's going to be just a straight up Bane Deathstroke movie. I think we'd be here for it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And do you already own a Vengeance of Bane 1?
Number 3 on the list, another book you could have had at cover price, and if you did, you should thank yourself. New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool. This is a book that has been on the list constantly for many, many years, but this last week it jumped from the hot list to the trending list. We are reporting $400 average sales, but a sub $1,000, $920 for CGC 9.8. That feels really, really low.
But here's the thing. When this book started creeping above $1,500 last year because of Deadpool Wolverine, we saw one of the biggest waves between this and Wolverine 1 of increase in census count at a 9.8. We tracked the census count, hit the subscribe button. Covering this book 3 days ago, there's been an increase of added slabs to that census of a total of 36, and 14 of which were 9.6 and 9.8. A total of 5 new 9.8s have just emerged. They're grading more than 1 new 9.8 a damn day.
Even with that many more books available, we are seeing a 148% increase in copies sold this week. And one can't help but think that a lot of that has something to do with the fact that these prices are actually down. If you are buying this book as an investment, if you are buying this book for something long-term, really $920, we're probably even going to start seeing this book get lower than that as more 9.8s are on the census. It's probably a good time to buy this book if you're in the market.
Well, here's the thing. The only new news outside of a Deadpool VR game, like we're literally scraping the bottom of the barrel for spec right now, is that Ryan Reynolds is scripting an X-Force movie that may have Hugh Jackman Wolverine, and it may have Josh Brolin Cable, and may have Storm and pull other mutants, but he's scripting it. This isn't going to happen for years. And you know what's going to happen? Every month on the way to the release of a movie that may or may not happen is that more and more people are going to submit this book in. I could see this book being sub $800 at a 9.8, which seems bananas.
If you haven't already, you need to download the Key Collector app. The list of 10 is sourced from a larger list of 20, and you need to see the whole list available on Android and iPhone. Use code TOM101 for 2 free weeks of the best comic book app in existence.
If you own any of the books on the Trending 20, I want to see tags over on Instagram. We'll repost you. We may use you in a future video. Number 2 on the list, maybe one of the most gifted, collectible, vintage comics of all time. We have The Wedding of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. FF Annual number 3, Squarebound book. A recent 8.5 in May sold for $228. There was a recent 9.6 that sold for $2,250. And this wedding issue is a perfect gift if you ever attend a comic collector's wedding. I've personally seen it done at least 5 times, but I do have a bias. I have a lot of friends who collect comic books.
The ones that I like giving for a wedding gift are Giant Size Avengers number 4, which is Vision and Scarlet Witch's wedding. We also have Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21, which is the marriage of Peter and Mary Jane.
I keep wanting to say
Gwen.
I know.
I do.
Can you imagine accidentally calling Mary Jane Gwen? It's like, oh no, wait.
That'd be real embarrassing.
That's
that's your dead ex.
It's the dead
Sorry.
ex. Whoopsies. Killed by a goblin. Well, here's the interesting thing. They're already married in the movie. Like, they've been doing Fantastic Four stuff. We may see a flashback of sorts, but I think we're seeing FF keys that are undervalued, ones that are awesome for a collection starting to spike up as we get closer to the movie, as it approaches, as Galactus draws near.
I can't wait until people discover that the Marvel's Greatest Comics, all of those reprints of Fantastic Four, are dirt cheap, like sub $10. And if you just want to read the vintage Fantastic Four on vintage feeling paper, those are a great alternative.
Stay tuned to the end of the video. I'm going to give away 5 copies of my Fantastic Four 48 foil reprint. We have at the list, at number 1, a book that recently sold, not kidding, at a 9.8 for $16. Russ, I don't think anyone was specking on this comic book.
I don't think anyone was specking on this book, but I do have people that are calling me trying to get the graphic novel. They're also trying to get the single issues to complete their 12-issue maxi run. You know we're talking about Mr. Miracle, the Tom King masterpiece.
Issue 1 from the Tom King run, $15 high average sales, an increase of copies sold week over week of 733%. We did some coverage over the Animation France Annecy Festival over this last week, and one of the announcements in France was an animation of Tom King's Mr. Miracle, which is overall a tribute to the king of comics, Jack Kirby.
When this book came out, there was so much of a demand. DC released 4 printings as well as a director's cut in black and white. This book was one of the most read and most requested books that I had back in 2017. Everyone was excited about this Tom King run, and rightfully so. It's a fantastic story that really explores one of the underutilized characters from the Jack Kirby universe.
I strongly encourage everyone to read Jack Kirby's work when he switched from Marvel to DC and brought over this giant cosmic opera of what would be the New Gods, Forever People, and of course, finishing it off with Mr. Miracle, which was the longest running one. And all of these comics are under 20 issues each. It was short lived. They cut them off after about a year. It is comic history. And by the way, Mr. Miracle #1, Jack Kirby, is notoriously difficult in high grade. Shocked to see there's only 20 copies that exist. And we see a 9.8 copy emerge sometimes once every 2 years, and one sold this year.
The last time we had a sale was back in 2020, and it was $4,750 for a 9.8.
The comic boom,
Until
dude,
we had this most recent sale in February of this year, $6,300. A lot of these comics since the comic boom have gone down in price. This one has gone up. Another fantastic book from this Mr. Miracle run is Mr. Miracle #4, first appearance of Big Barda, a fan favorite. If one of those comes out in a 9.8, I expect it to be even higher than a #1.
There are 13 copies of that book at a 9.8. Read Mr. Miracle, and of course, as always,
Geek responsibly.
enough said. All right, Russ, who's getting this? Friendship Unleashed, Crypto Superman.
If your phone number ends in 8109, my gosh, I hope you're a dog owner because you just want a comic book that smells like a milk phone.
That's right. I'm not sending you the treats, though. My dog has been eating them. She loves them. And if you want to join all of our giveaways henceforth, join the SMS group, comictom.com, put your phone number in. It's our text message group we source the random winners from. Once you're in forever. We'll see you next week.